Are you an adventurer looking to take your hunt to the next level? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to East Meets West Hunt with your host, Bo Martonic.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the East Meets West Hunt podcast presented by onX. What I want to talk about today with onX in respect to the onX Hunt app is talking about the different overlays that you can put on, from the topographic maps to the aerial view to the hybrid view. So the two that I use the most, I'm going to talk specifically to mountain bucks, and it does apply to hunting out west. But for whitetails, I'm using the topographical layer to identify different terrain features, and also the hybrid layer, which kind of combines the two, the best of both worlds. But I still like using the regular topos to get a, more of a clear view of, different benches off of points where bucks might be bedded, or benches along ridge where the deer might run instead of being all the way up on the top, and things like that. So being able to, scroll, be able to go back and forth, even when you're offline without service, to be able to switch back and forth is really cool, and an awesome feature that everyone that's using the app should utilize. So if you want to check out the onX Hunt app, use the coupon code EMW to save yourself 20% off at onxmaps.com. So Maven Optics. And so Maven, has come out with the highest quality optics available, at half the price of their competitors using their direct-to-consumer business model. And the model that I'm using specifically for elk hunting and western hunting, we'll talk with binoculars, and I'm using the 9x45s, the B2 model. Just the Abby Koenig prism design that they have in there is so good for low light and just being able to have a wider field of view. I prefer, doing something like a 9x45 rather than doing something like a 12 by magnification, something along those lines for elk hunting. And the reason for that is I like the wider field of view. I like to be able to see as much as possible. And if I need to get, a closer view for something, which I normally, don't, unless I'm really trying to check out the caliber of deer or elk I'm looking at, is I could, pull out the spot and scope. But normally that 9 power is great for that. So if you want to head over to mavenbuilt.com, check out their options. You can use the coupon code EastMeetsWest-gift, get yourself a free gift with any optics order. And if you have any questions on the different optics or any of the ones I use, feel free to shoot me a message on Instagram, Facebook, email, whatever's easiest, and I'll be happy to answer that and, run through that with you. The University of Elk Hunting, so Corey Jacobson and Elk 101 have put together the most fully comprehensive elk hunting learning course available. And with, in addition to that course, they're going to be launching the Destination Elk YouTube series, and that'll be launching on YouTube in November, going through their entire September and I think even into October, some of their hunts, from archery to even adding rifle hunting into this year. And really what's nice about it is not only entertaining, but it also is very informative and breaks down a lot of their processes, why they're doing it, and it can be really helpful to learn from that. So if you want to check out the University of Elk Hunting online course, you can use the code EastMeetsWest to save yourself 20% off at elk101.com. And lastly, so before we jump into this episode here, which is the last one of the Idaho Elk Hunt series, so I hope everyone enjoyed the series. I'd love to hear your feedback, positive or negative. It really helps to kind of see what kind of podcast that I'll put out in the future. I had a lot of fun recording these ones with the guys. I hope that they're helpful and inspiring, but also entertaining a little bit at the for the most part. And this episode is really going to dive into, the final days of the hunt, as well as, what worked, what didn't, from our tactic side of things, from our personal side of things to the gear. And I think there's a lot of takeaways out of this one. Justin, Michael, and myself are the ones going to be, talking on this episode. So check that out. And like I said, your feedback is welcome. And if you would, head over to iTunes or wherever you listen to the podcast at and leave a rating and a review. That helps out so much. And I greatly appreciate all of that feedback. All right, well, let's jump into this episode here. And the last one of the Idaho Elk Hunt series before we get serious about whitetails. You know what the sound of that means? It is the last evening of Elk Camp 2019 in Idaho. And I'm sitting here around the non-existent fire with Michael Paladino and Justin Mueller. Mason is missing from the event right now, so it's just going to be us three on the mic to recap the last, I guess, about 4 days we haven't done a podcast here.
Yeah, it's been a couple days, a little slower than most, but it'll be good just kind of recap them all.
Yeah, Justin, what's going on with you?
Not a lot. We finally got everything done for the film that we needed. Bo and I took an afternoon, or attempted an afternoon, to shoot some other stuff that I needed, shoot some audio, shoot some scenic stuff, and we got it all wrapped up, and I'm pretty excited to see how it all turns out.
Yeah, and you did crash your drone.
I did, yeah. I was, we were flying it for like 20 minutes, and I'm not even going to make up an excuse. I saw this two rocks, that kind of, there's a gap in there, and I thought I'm going to thread the needle in there and get a cool shot, so I put the drone, flew it through straight once, and it was good. And then I tried to spin it through to get a good scenic shot, and I put it right into the backside of a cliff. And yeah, nothing broke though, so that was really good.
Yeah,
video of it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it was really cool.
Knowing where he had to get it, not happening.
Yeah,
it would have been a tax write-off.
Yeah, it was not. I mean, I got really lucky. Usually, when you crash a drone like that, you lose all the footage, you lose everything. But just got hung up in a tree, and I had to climb up and go get it.
Well, that was the worst part. That was my drone. It would have been gone because it literally was, 800 feet, maybe higher up onto a cliff. And Justin went running to go get it. I'm like, why is he sprinting? I'm like, I'll sit here and glass him, make sure he doesn't fall.
Thanks.
Flag him into it.
No, I lost track of him pretty quick.
Very helpful.
So Justin climbs up and he's running. I'm like, what the hell is he running for? What I didn't know was that his drone will tell him through his phone and the controls, the GPS coordinates where it's at, but his battery is about to die. And once the battery dies, he'd have no idea where it was. So he climbed all the way up through these cliffs, all this stuff, and finally, I text him, dude, you all right? Nothing. Then he calls me, hey man, can you see me up here? I'm looking. He's like, no, higher. So I look up. Holy hell! He's hanging off the side he's up there, way up there. He's like, is there an easier way down? I was like, doesn't look like any way down to me.
Oh.
But so anyways, he came out the way that he came. Drone was fine. Everything was good. And I think the film's going to turn out pretty good.
I hope so, man. I think everything I've went through looks good. I hate, saying things are going to look good until, you actually get it all put together. But I'm confident in how it looks, and the shot was good. All the camaraderie around camp is good, and that's what makes a good film, is that kind of stuff. So,
do you want to give any preface as far as how it's going to be released, or should we keep that a secret? Or how we're looking to plan to release it?
It's up to you. If
yeah.
you want to do.
You got to go for
Let's
it.
put it on the line. Yeah. So we're going to submit the film. Justin's going to put it together and submit it to the Badlands Film Festival, and hopefully it makes the final featured films that get played on the big screen one of the nights after the ATA show in Louisville this year. No, it's in Indianapolis.
It's in Indianapolis, yep.
It's back in Indianapolis, so hopefully that it makes the cut there, and I'd like to think that it will. I mean, Justin just made the film look extremely badass from the raw footage that I've seen, so I'm pretty pumped for it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool not having any photography skills, film skills, to see it kind of come together the way it is. Having no background in it and seeing what goes into it to get it to where it is. And he's like, man, I'm thinking about doing it this way, thinking about putting this here, stitching it together like this. I was like, this is going to be pretty freaking cool. Like, I kind of expected the A to Z style, just this is what happened, this is where it is, and that's not skill. So the way it's coming together, just by the looks of it, is going to be pretty freaking cool. I'm excited for it.
For me, just to go back a little more, the film fest, like picture you rent out a movie theater, right? That holds what, 3,000 people, and then it's all hunters, photographers, everyone that I want to be watching this. So for me, even before we had this hunt planned, I knew I wanted to get a film in there. I knew I wanted to try to put something together. So I've been really thinking about this a long time. So, I kind of, like Michael just said, it's not going to be an A to Z, day one to day whatever. It's going to be, I kind of have a few ideas cooking. I ran them by Bo, and Bo and I have bounced ideas off of each other to meet in the middle and find something we both are going to like and go from there.
And what was cool for me was I've been filmed before, but never filmed on a hunt. And I was really worried going in without knowing Justin until I got to know him and stuff, because I do not like things that are, fake looking or anything like that. And it was cool because Justin and I agreed the film is going to be very raw from the standpoint of there's not everything's how it happened.
We didn't shoot anything extra.
There was no reenactments.
Nope.
It's just like, this is what happened. And I think that's a really cool, part of it. And I love cinematic films. Like, so for anyone that's listening to kind of give a reference to cinematic, think of like Donnie Vincent films, things like that. And, things that are, not just killing shit, it's, well, if it was just filming me killing shit, we'd probably have not very many films put out. But that's
Justin would have signed up with the wrong guy.
Yep.
So him and I hit it off on that, and were able to kind of put together a layout, mostly with him and me kind of agreeing or tweaking things as we went. And I think it's going to turn out pretty cool.
Yeah, I have a couple ideas. I think I'm actually going to cut like 2 different versions of it and then send it all to you guys and let you break my heart on it and tell me all the things you like and hate, and we can basically make a final draft that everyone is happy with and everyone loves, and that'll be it. And hopefully it, gets selected for the big screen.
Yeah. And then after that, we'll release it on YouTube. So the first week of January is when that Badlands Film Festival would take off. So if we make it to that, that's when it would release there. And then hopefully really soon after,
following week or something.
We'd both throw it up on YouTube and have it for everyone else's viewing pleasure, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely.
So like I said, if anybody's listening to us, this is the way it's shaping up, and from what I've seen just around camp, I know how the hunt went and where it took place and what took place. It's super scenic around here, so it's a good background for a good little short film. I definitely think this is going to be a really cool video to watch. I personally like shorter YouTube hunt films. I find myself lost in like a 20-minute ordeal, and just the way this is sounding to be shaping up, I think this is going to be a good solid video. Have you ever submitted something to Badlands before?
I appreciate the kind words, and I have not. No, I was going to last year, but I had kind of something that I put together that wasn't, I just wasn't happy with it, and with that crowd of people there, I didn't want to show something that I wasn't proud of, so I just decided not to. So this will be my first year submitting, and Bo and I talked. So basically, they get all these submissions. I couldn't tell you the number, but they get a bunch of submissions of films, and they pick, they call them the featured films to show. So, if you make the cut, you'll make the big screen. And there's a lot of talent there. So just for this film to be selected and shown, I don't even care if we get dead last place. To be on the same screen as some of these other producers and other companies would be a huge honor for me. So that's my goal.
Just putting it together for the Badlands Film Festival is going to be, I think, just a good process for both of you guys to go through, because I know it's Bo's first go at being filmed, and now hearing Justin's first go at putting that out there to that level. I think this is a great first start to getting something rolling.
Yeah, I'd definitely be lying if I said I wasn't nervous as hell about it. I've been looking through my footage and just making sure I have everything for days now. And we're on the last day, so it's like, well, it is what it is, but we've been working hard for it, and I think we have everything we need, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that turns out. So what do you think, guys? You want to recap the last few days? And I think we have one name that can kind of recap this, and it's about a bull We talked about this on the last episode, this 5x5 that has been giving us the slip coming out, and we're making moves and almost hunting them like a whitetail, ambushing them. And, well,
good old
Don Bolio. I don't know how Michael and I were sitting up on the mountain, semi-delirious at that point, and I just sitting there laughing to myself. And Michael's like quietly, because we're sitting there like right outside Don Bolio's bedroom.
We got ourselves up into where we thought he was for the 100 millionth time. And Bo and I are waiting on him. And literally, we know we went to bed in this clump of trees. It was one of those situations. We knew we were in the right spot. We had good wind. Everything was going to work out well, except they weren't talking. There's no real good sign that they were still in there. And Bo was just giggling to himself, like busting at the seams, choking because he's laughing, but he can't laugh. And I'm looking at him. I'm like, what? I whispered to him, like, what are you laughing at? And he goes, I got a name for him. And out of nowhere, like, there's no context for it, just Don Bolio. And we start geeking out laughing just because we're how many days in, how many not 100 miles on this thing, but miles on this thing, hours on them. And he's like, Don Bolio. And I just freaking cracked up. I was like, oh, no chance seeing him today.
Yeah. I thought it was funny when you guys came back to camp that night. I could just see the smirks on your face. You had something to tell me. And sure enough, Don Bolio.
Well, I did put the slip on us that night again.
Yeah. And then we had a couple other encounters with him since then.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the whole scheme of Don Bolio here has been, I know for sure, how many days have we been here? 13?
12.
12 days, and we've seen them 9 times in 5 different basins. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. There's like 5
drainages in one basin.
Yes. Yeah. So we've seen him in 5 different drainages, and he just keeps showing up different places, going to bed in different places, coming out in different places, and we're like, yep, we got him today. We know where he went to bed. We know where he's going to come out. And it just, as it goes in hunting, he doesn't. And it's actually like, no, we're trying to hunt him. It always happens. We find him where we're at. And it's like, well, are you kidding me? There's Don on the hill.
It's like a personal vendetta with him. Like, he's just been giving us a slip. He's been so freaking visible to us from where we're glassing at, but just giving us a straight slip.
I know good hunters listening to this are like, come on, guys. 9 times you've seen him. But this is still elk hunting. This is still public land that gets pressure. And it just is one of those things that our experience level just hasn't got us on him. He's been full drawn on twice.
I was going to say, you guys have been close.
Yeah, we've had him 34 yards full draw. Mason's had him full draw. We've had him. One thing or another always occurs as hunting normally goes.
Yep.
Old Don.
And the coolest thing about Don is we're not sure if he's just a player with the ladies, but just is not good at fighting, or what, because he'll show up one day, he's got 5-6 cows, the next day he's got 19-20. Holy shit, he's a herd bull.
He's looking good on that day with 19. Good.
Next day, he shows up 0 cows. He just got, and Michael, you watched him get his ass kicked. I watched him
get his ass whooped by a raghorn. Just a raghorn took off through this terrible meadow. I don't know why it's called a meadow. It's not, but a terrible area, and just cleaned his clock up and down this hillside. And I'm like, holy crap, this bull really is getting his butt whooped by a raghorn. The next night, he has 19 cows.
Yeah.
We're like, where did that come from?
And that night, he got all his cows stolen from him.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. He's got something going for him that we're not sure about, but he's pulling the women in, and he's losing them just as quick as he got them. Maybe he's a cowboy. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's gone by the morning.
Yep. That might have been it. 19 cows at night, none in the morning, no commitment.
What a guy.
Yeah. What a guy.
I do hope he's spreading the Don Bolio to these cows, because this bull is just one of those funny, very easily noticed, known, easily to pick from.
It's one of those things that, like, we just, after you're here for so long at camp and stuff, you just come up with these funny things to laugh about. And that's just kind of been Don Bolio has been the story of this hunt. And since then we've heard other bugles. But they've been very sporadic. Ever since you had that Rut Fest day that we talked about in the last episode with Don Bolio getting his ass kicked by the Raghorn and the 6x6 and the 6x8 and the other 6x6, all this stuff going on. It's been slow bugling wise. We got some hot weather in, 85 degrees in the day, which it was hot the day I shot mine, but it took a while to get hot, where it's been hot early.
Yeah, we've been getting some major heat here the last 3 days. Hunting water hasn't worked. I mean, we've sat water thinking that's going to be where they're at. That hasn't worked. We've chased bugles. We've went bed to bed. We've done the different strategies that you'd think you should be trying. And just, I mean, the other night I had a couple bugling, got in on them where I thought I was going to be making some good moves. And once again, something happened. I don't know if the wind switched, which I really don't think. This wind is pretty prominent out of the one direction here and just really pushing through here. And I just, for some reason, I don't know what it is. The rut didn't fully just, that day I thought we were going to be golden from here on out. I just thought we were going to be chasing bugles. You'd be able to hunt them as you'd always think of. And we just had to fall back on ambush, spot stock, water sit. Hunting quiet bulls is not easy.
Yeah, so I think there was a couple different factors that kind of played in there from the standpoint of the hot weather that kicked in, and also when you had that Rut Fest, that was on Friday, and we did have a lot of hunting pressure on the weekend.
Yeah.
Since then, we haven't had much, but up until that point, we had a lot of hunting pressure, and the bulls just went silent on us. Really, they might bugle a couple times from their bed, and then that was it. And the way the terrain is here with a bunch of nooks and crannies and just like there's not like these giant ridges and ridge lines and basins. There's a whole bunch of little points coming out and saddles here and all this stuff. And it's hard to hear bugles unless you're
big time
on them, you know?
Yesterday, Bo was on the hillside completely adjacent to us. And Mason and I were up hunting and thought we were in where bulls were bedded. And just bugling, trying to get something, just honestly, almost Hail Marys. And I'm like, Bo, did you hear any bugles? He's like, nope. I'm like, I could see where he was. How didn't he hear us bugling? And that's just the way this terrain is. It gets knocked down, pushed down a drainage, whatever it is. You have to, if you hear a bugle, you're probably on them. You're
And I did hear a bugle, but I'm pretty sure
not the right side of the hill.
Well, yeah, and I'm pretty sure that it was a guy because the chainsaw started up 20 minutes later from a similar location. So it's just been one of those things, and so that's been you and Mason kind of chasing around them. Mason had an encounter with the Raghorn.
Yeah, Cliff up here.
Eating a granola bar.
Yeah, I couldn't come to full draw because he was eating a granola bar.
He said him and the Raghorn caught eyes at the same time, and they're like, "Oh shit!" And it ran, but it wasn't spooked because it didn't wind him. It just saw something didn't like, and he cow called it back in twice, and the vitals recovered both times. Couldn't get a shot, and he had a death climb to get up there, probably over 3,000 feet elevation gain to get up to the top, and just hasn't really got into it.
And it's definitely not 3,000 feet over a stretch of period of time. It's 3,000 feet right now, bottom to top, 3,000 feet of a climb.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I never had to make that hike personally, but just looking at it, I think I'll be all right.
Yeah, I've woken up in the morning and know he left an hour before me, and I look, I'm like, oh, wonder if he made it.
Yeah.
Glad I'm not doing that.
Yep.
But, we did that 15-hour sit yesterday, dark to dark. That's a hike up in there, too. Dark to dark, didn't see anything.
Yeah, we
water sat.
Went to where I killed my bull.
Yep. Yeah, just down a little bit from where Bo killed his bull. Sat dark to dark on water. Nothing. Hiked out, saw about a dozen doe. A mule deer that are. And that was the end of the day yesterday. That was just a long day, long hike. Not like a morale booster by any means because we've had a great trip. We're just like, how did we not see something? It's 65, 70 degrees up on the top of the mountain. Hot. And nothing came in.
And then while you guys are doing that, so I was with you for most of the time, but the last couple of days I decided to do a little bit of mule deer hunting and kind of broke off. And it's funny that last week when I'm elk hunting with you guys, we're seeing mule deer bucks, and Michael, you told me, you're like,
I told
shoot
you.
the buck. We had a 3x3 at 50 yards. I ranged them. We're whispering to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, Justin, you were there
there,
too. So was Mason, all four of us.
Yeah, we were.
And-
Yeah,
All
that's
four
right.
of us standing there like, duh.
Yeah.
And you're like, shoot it. And I'm like, no, we're elk hunting. We got an elk bugle. And we're not.
We had that one ripping. We were
Yeah.
making a move on him, so it's just a bad time.
And I'm
to
like,
find
no. Dude, we've been seeing bucks. Like, and they're nothing giant. We haven't seen any big bucks, really. The 4x4,
That
maybe
4x4 stalked was the biggest.
130 inches, maybe.
Yeah.
Which, believe me, I'm not being picky whatsoever with mule deer. I've never killed a buck, and I'm not going to pretend that I'm a trophy hunter with them. But I'm like, I got time. That's the worst thing you could ever say to yourself is you got time. Because when I started hunting them here the last few days, I can't find a mule deer buck to save my life. We are glassing some of the most beautiful country first light. Maybe I'm just not good behind the glass, but I couldn't turn up a buck whatsoever.
Well, we were up on our little glassing knob up here, and I got up there probably an hour before Bo did the one night. And I was checking for Don Bulio. That was my main goal. But then I also wanted to find some muleys on the backside of the canyon. There's just this beautiful rock face up there, and there's trees around the base. And I mean, there's shade up there, and it was kind of hot that day. And I thought, man, there's got to be something bedded up in that shade up there. And I picked it apart for 4 hours, and I didn't see a single elk or a single muley.
Yeah.
But it always is that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never been hunting and been like, yep, today's the day I'm going to shoot a doe, like in the whitetail woods. I'm shooting a doe today. I've seen a doe every single day I've been in here. I tell myself I'm shooting a doe. The does don't show up. And it always happens that way. But that's hunting.
Yeah,
it's
it
just
is.
funny how that is.
And no, I'm good with it. I mean, I'm happy I got elk meat to be able to bring back and everything. But it was just funny how that worked out. And then yesterday I just kind of took a Hail Mary, just walking through the timber, slow, kind of Pennsylvania whitetail hunting in a little bit, kind of still hunting through. And usually I at least jump a few deer, whether I'm able to get a shot or not. It's nothing. I didn't jump anything. I didn't see any deer. Pretty sure I saw a mountain lion in a cave, but that's about it. Oh, well, how about Michael's walking back to camp one night, came down the road, and Michael hitchhiking basically.
100% hitchhiking.
Guy picked him up, drops him off at camp. Michael's like, hey. Well, no, we've been seeing the game commission and stuff from camp or the Idaho fishing game, and driving up and down
Every 2-3 days.
Yeah, and it's been like what's kind of going on here. They patrol the area hard, and one of the guys that's been hunting here for a while was like, no, we never see him up in here. And this guy that picked up Michael, you can kind of take over the story from there.
Yeah, so Bo was supposed to pick me up. Didn't. So then I had to make my way back.
I thought I saw his headlamp.
No. Actually, I told you I was going to, but we saw a headlamp coming. It was Mason. We thought it was you.
Yeah.
And actually, when you got dropped off, I was heading into my car.
That's right,
But,
yeah.
Yeah, we were a little late to say the least.
But yeah, so I'm hitchhiking from this guy. I can't remember his name, but just a older gentleman cruising the roads, out just on a cruise, going back to his elk camp that he's staying at. He actually lives in the town down from us here. And he's like, yeah, we killed the cow the other day. We packed it out. It was 3 of us. We packed half of it out. We were going back in for the other half. And we noticed that there were mountain lion tracks in our tracks. And they're like, oh, boy, that's not what we want. So they backed out, and we're going to go back in the morning to get their elk in the morning when it was daylight. And somewhere amongst that, they made the connection that they were getting a lot of cattle loss. There's free-range cattle up over in that unit. And so when they realized that, they kind of maybe put 2 and 2 together, got a hold of whoever you have to get a hold of for that situation. And the game commission, I'm going to call them fishing game commission here, I think is what they are, ended up hired out a, what is that?
Government shooter.
hunter.
A government hunter
Yeah, government
to
hunter.
come hunt and track. And I think, I would bet, run dogs on the cat. And that's what they've been doing the past week and a half, trying to get this mountain lion that's been just decimating the cow herd over there, which I guess mountain lion just killed the kill. I don't know. Is that something they're known for?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If I were to guess, I mean, if you're a mountain lion, how easy is the cattle to prey instead of an elk?
goodness.
You know,
Yeah.
they're just out here grazing in the wide open, and there's cows and calves of all sizes out here for them to get. So
Yeah.
why wouldn't you?
And so now, with that being said, when I'm walking through the woods and I see a cave and I see like somewhat of a white face inside that cave, automatic mountain lion. He's tracking me. He's coming. So I'm ready. And, yeah, so that's kind of the...
There wasn't a mountain lion.
No, there was nothing in the cave.
There was 100%. That mountain lion was so damn big, I couldn't even, honestly, use a record. But I just didn't want to fill my tag yet, so I kept going.
Yeah, sure, that's what it was.
But anyways, that's been kind of the gist of the end of the trip here. So out of the 4 hunters in camp, including John, who I had on one of the podcasts here recently, 2 of the 4 of us killed bull elk, with you and Mason being at full draw multiple times.
Yep.
So I'd say it's a pretty damn successful hunt. What would you say?
100%. I know coming out here, we kind of discussed what we were looking for goal for this trip. And unselfishly, but kind of with the best interest in the group, I was very hopeful Bo got a bull, knowing what he's had into this. And me personally being more, I would consider myself, I just really enjoy the tactics of mule deer hunting, and kind of just wanted to get back out west and kind of get back into it. I was like, if I don't kill a bull, it's not the end of the world. But I know if Bo doesn't kill a bull, it's going to be a bad day in camp.
What?
What's
No
happening
way.
here? I'm
Can
not
you
seeing
say
it.
that?
Yeah, I think
What?
we're going to have to. Michael, what did you just witness?
That's what I was pointing at over here. Did you guys
Yeah.
see me laughing?
I got to get a video of that.
Bo, when you looked at me earlier and I was looking past you, that's what was happening back here. I was trying to get your attention to show
There
you.
are cows walking down the road over here by camp and just mounting each other by our camp.
That was a calf mounting the mother.
Nothing else to do up here in the mountains,
I'm
I
so
guess,
glad
right?
all of us are just like jaw drop, like, no.
Michael, the way you perked up and pointed at that, I thought there was a 350 bull coming down the hill. You
Yeah.
looked so excited. Looked over, there's just 2 cows riding each other.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Man. Anyways,
But yeah, so I was so glad when Bo killed the bull, because not to say he would have been grumpy the whole trip, because he wouldn't have been, but it would have been like, oh man, another trip, all this. So when Bo killed, it was the biggest weight off. I know Mason, myself, Bo, and then knowing Justin's here to get that. That right in itself, I felt like this is a successful trip. Then we're 50% on elk, 100% on opportunities. Almost all of us have gotten stalks or chances on mule deers if we wanted. I know I had a nice 4x4 that I would have been very happy to shoot. Mason had a nice opportunity last night. Bo's had opportunities. Even on that 3x3, that was wide open, 50-something yard, broadside, 4 guys to pack it out.
slam dunk.
But
I mean,
yeah.
it's Bo we're talking about, of course.
But yeah, so it was one of the. We've all had that. We've all been on the stalks. I think we all enjoyed the different tactics that went into how we're going to hunt these elk, because we've had hot weather, we've had rain, we've had freezing cold, we've had rut fest, we've had open country feeding at 9 a.m. Like we've seen it and hunted it. So I would say this has been a very successful trip for that aspect of it.
Yeah, and one part that we did talk about, in one of the other podcasts, but I want to reiterate, was this elk hunt has been extremely fun from the standpoint is the camp camaraderie thing, and just like we come back and have a fire every night, and it sounds like, oh wow, that's cushiony and all this stuff, and it is. It's great. It's amazing. But we've had more chances at elk being able to do that. I'm not saying that's always going to be the case, but this trip we were able to get on elk every single day except for one. Today was the
and
first
that was
day.
the hottest day of the trip.
Yeah.
Oh, then 2. Yeah, if you want to talk today too.
Yeah,
But
2.
today the effort level was not like we all were more mule deer mindset. But one day we put effort into elk to get nothing, to turn up nothing, to have 0 bugles, to have 0 stalks. That is what I hear of like a state of Colorado. I've never hunted them there. Well, I did, but I never had that where it's, oh my goodness, I haven't seen anything for 6 days. That type of hunt hasn't been something that I've had to go through. So
And I'm sure there's places in Colorado and any other state where you can have experiences like this, but it's not common, let's put it that way, for an over-the-counter unit to be able to, really be able to get on elk every day. I mean, just finding them is the biggest thing. And now, I mean, I think we've learned a lot from this trip, and can definitely take it and learn more for the next time that we come chase bugles.
My goodness, the learning curve here has definitely been shortened just by seeing it all. Not all, because you never see it all, but seeing the...
Get a taste of everything.
Yep.
I think it's worth mentioning, too, like, you'd come back to camp every night, and he'd be like, oh, Michael, what'd you see? And he'd be like, oh, I had a bull doing this, and then I had cows here and there, and it'd be Mason, and he'd have the same thing. Like, it wasn't like one of the 4, one of the 5 of us was coming back with a story. It was almost like every day, everyone at least... was in elk, near elk, had a decent hunt, except for the one day in the middle. But
yeah,
And having a group of guys here that are younger, all the same age group, more or less, a span of 5 years, but all within the same age group, all within, hunting East Coast, whitetail, or even though Justin's in Minnesota, but a whitetail background. Having that, and then us all bouncing ideas off each other, like, every night we went over game plan.
The GP.
Every single night. What's the GP? Mason, John, Michael, Bo. Where are we going to do? What are we going to do? How are we going to do if this situation occurred? And we always kind of just went through. And John, knowing the area, was like, you know what? Those plans, let's do something different. Let's try this. And then you'd be like, if we go over here, I was like, okay, yeah, let me give that a try. Or, hey, Mason, go try up over here. Just see what you can see. And not nowhere near saying guiding, but being like, this is an area we haven't hit. Let's check this out. And if you run into a situation, this is what you're going to be in. And that's been so fun, just being able to bounce the ideas off each other. And it's not just us sitting here sulking over full draw on a bull of, like a bull of my lifetime and sitting here being all pitiful. Like, that hasn't been what
we don't let each other get pitiful, because as soon as someone starts bitching about anything, we start
make them feel way worse about themselves, and they cut that out right away.
Yep, it's 100%. It's a ruthless camp, and that's kind of the way we like it. It's fun. It's been really cool, and I think that was a good point, Michael, with like the team effort and like, okay, so even if you're going at, all right, this spot could really use 2 people, or you'd be like, hey, I had some action here recently, I could use a caller behind. We'd split up a lot, this group, just to find elk and increase the chances of opportunities. But any chance you're like, hey, Bo, I could use you here to help with this, and we go and we bounce ideas off each other and go with it. And that's been a cool aspect of it, and also being able to do our own thing and from that aspect.
Yeah, I will say, like, being my first real elk hunt, where I'm actually here focused on elk hunting. I know Justin's been on some awesome elk hunts, being film, making video, shooting stuff. Bo's been on, a good handful of elk hunts. Mason being on a couple elk hunts. Me being my first one, I remember just trying to learn as much as I could. I listened to, you name the podcasts, I've listened to them. You name the YouTube videos, I watched them. Anything that I could get elk content, elk information, I tried just being a sponge and take it all in. And that's awesome to have that knowledge, but if you don't have the actual real-world experience to put it into use or play, you actually aren't really learning anything. Because I know thousands of hours of podcasts and videos and learning. I know I've seen it. But then out in the woods, I'm like, oh, shoot. That's exactly what they're saying. That's exactly when you should be doing this. That's exactly when you need to be doing, whatever the situation is. Like, don't be calling the whole way into the bull because it's not going to, just different things. And I come back and be like, shoot, well, that bull is nowhere in that drainage anymore. I tell you that. Like, just those situations. And it's been fun.
It's been cool, too, because our hunt plan, I feel like, was good that we put together. We, ahead of the trip, Michael, Mason, and I put together. So I guess this is a good tip to share with people. If you're going with a group, there's something we are using called Google Docs. It's online. Anybody can edit, and it automatically saves to it. So we put together a plan of basically 5 different areas within the unit and sub-areas, like specific drainages, plans. Put all this together if we didn't find elk. And luckily, we didn't have to veer off of the first one. We stayed in the same place for the entire 12 days. But we hit a lot of those sections, within the subsections. We had plans. We had everything. Being organized like that does help in the process. And, when it came down to getting the meat out, we already had address, name, hours, everything at the butcher shop in town. We had all that stuff kind of.
Yeah, there's very little fumbling around, I'll say. There wasn't a lot of wasting time We were very efficient as a group. It's like, shoot, man, we're on our way out. And I dropped the ball in this. When's the meat processor open? I was like, dang, that was on my list to call. And we did, but it was nice. We had the phone number.
Was it 8 to 10? He said.
I said 10 to 5.
10 to 5.
Yeah,
yep.
10 to 5.
Yep.
And Justin's like, really bullshit. I'm like, no, 10 to 5. Everything. He's like,
I was like,
where'd
no
you
shit.
come
Every
from?
business is open from 10 to 5.
Yeah, 10 to 5. It was 8 to 5.
Yeah.
I lied. But, yeah, no, it was just an easy phone call. On our way out, hey, when you guys, yeah, we're open till this time. Okay, perfect. And we went. No, it was no big deal. We knew exactly where things were. Our truck was organized well. We had a couple different things there with organization lists of packing lists, gear lists. We printed out the maps, had hard copies of maps, had Onyx downloaded, waypoints. Just as ready as you can be, I felt, to come down here and do this. It was,
and I say it's pretty successful from that standpoint. So one thing I wanted to get into here, and I'll let Michael start, and then if Justin has anything to add to this, then as you guys are starting to do that, I'm going to go grab a couple beers out of the creek, since that's what we're doing to keep them cold as they've been in Justin's car. We have like 17 coolers here, but we had the beer sitting in the car all week waiting for the last day to be able to sip on a couple.
If we had cool beers in the cooler, there wouldn't have any beers left at all.
Yeah.
So
It's actually a good thing we did that.
Yeah,
That's why I didn't tell you guys I had it in my car till now. I
good job, Justin.
Yeah, you're good at keeping us in line.
Drunken fools on the hill chasing elk. We might have had something else down.
Yeah, right.
But no, anyways, so what I want to start off with is, Michael, what are a couple things that you think that we did well, and what are some things you think that we can improve on?
Okay, yeah. So basically, I kind of going to start with being a larger group of 4 or 5 guys. We came into this area being our main goal to hunt this area for as long as we could if we felt that the elk were here, and they were. Very quickly early on, we realized these elk are here. So we all discussed easy ways to not be messing and pressuring these bulls. We wanted to hunt them. We wanted to consistently hunt them every day, but we didn't want to blow them out. And you can easily just run ridges, bugling, pushing, and you could be very successful. I'm certain of it. I see it online. But for the way we hunted, we're like, we're not going to get in there early morning and be blowing them out of the bottoms of the basins where they're at, which is our only way into the hills. So we decided in the morning we're going to glass, we're going to watch them go to bed, then hunt them in that nature, and then at night, if they're not bugling, ambush them as they get back into the meadows. Knowing where they went in day after day, we felt that was going to be a great strategy. So we didn't pressure the elk when we didn't need to. We weren't in there running and bumping and just covering miles just to say we covered miles. I think that was a good little idea. When there's 5 different people hunting, more or less 4 hunters and Justin, 5 guys through the woods can blow out the woods in a quick hurry. So we really took our time, made smart, and I feel they were smart plays, smart decisions. We could have been a little bit more aggressive at times, but we would have been packing up camp and moving and wasting. Anytime you blow elk out of your area, now you have easily hour to 2 hours of cleanup. You're going to stop in town. You're going to get back out there, set up. So you just wasted almost a whole day, if just not a portion of it, you did waste the whole day. So we're pretty cautious with that. When we were going to go to bed, we always had 2 guys for calling situations, which I thought was a good idea. When I ran into the problem, I didn't have a caller, or else I know for sure I could have had the bull I wanted in range. He just got to where he knew I was, and I could see him. He could see me, knowing,
or could see where.
Yes, he knew where I was. He never did see me, or else he would have took off. But he's like, nope, there's no elk over here. There's no bull over here. Gone. So a caller there would have been helpful. So then we learned on that, and we went in. Anytime we were going to bed, we had caller setups ready. And now, not to say that was successful by any means, but I felt that was the right play. I would love to learn how some of the successful hunters would have played some of our scenarios. It's just a slow day. What would they suggest at that point? You guys haven't heard anything today. Go do this. And then I do have a feeling you probably bump some and blow some out, which isn't what we were trying to do, but you can be successful doing that. You just have to know you have backup plans, which we did. So I'm definitely going to take some of those things, like how you can be more aggressive without ruining everything, kind of being sneaky with it. I like some of the calling sequences that got you in close. Like if I heard bulls bugling, I can't remember some podcast I heard. I was like, man, that's a great idea. I think the analogy was you don't just walk into the bar flipping out, screaming the whole way over to the guy. You're going to fight the guy. You get right up to him, and then you tell him you're going to fight the guy. They don't have much of an option. I can't remember who said it and what podcast it was.
I think it was Jason Phelps.
But
He said that.
And I'm like, that's a perfect example. So my goal was I'm going to get as close as I can when they're bugling to then call and bugle and try to get them active and try to get them, fired up. If you're on top of them, I felt that was going to be more successful. And it did work the one day. I was not successful. Other times, maybe my calling's not the greatest. The way I approach it's not the greatest. Playing the wind isn't the best. But that's all stuff that you'll learn over time doing it. It's one of those things you just don't do it right the first time. And if you do, you can hunt with me whenever you want because I'll love that.
Yeah. And I think it's worth mentioning, too, like you were just talking about, even if you do everything perfect, it's not going to work every time. You could get in there perfect, win perfect. You could be the best caller in the world, but it still might not work out. I thought one thing we did good, and I'll say, too, I think we're all pretty much at somewhat the same skill level as far as elk hunting goes. We've all done a little bit of Western hunting, but nothing crazy. So we were all just kind of bouncing ideas around and finding common ground that we all could live with and go from there. But that encounter that comes to my mind when Bo passed his muley. We were coming in on this elk. We heard a bugle from across the canyon, and we all decided we could move in and get up in where he was bedding. And we did, and we played everything perfect. We hiked all the way up to the top of this rock cliff, came across, and we took our time because it was kind of loud, and we got in there, and he was still bugling. And then all of a sudden, rain rolled in and the wind switched, and he shut off. What do you do from there? We are now at the very peak of the basin. We walked through the whole thing to get up here. We have no idea if he's there, if he left, if he winded us, if he didn't. What's your next move?
Yeah.
We hung out for a while, and then it was like, well, may as well go get set up for the afternoon hunt because how long do you sit there?
What we did do there is we backed out.
We did, yep.
And it was that bull came out of that very same timber patch out to the meadow that night. He was in there.
Yeah, what we didn't learn was, well, he went in there. Maybe we should go sit there in the evening.
Yep.
But we weren't sure.
We just thought he was gone.
Hindsight's 20/20. It's easy to
look back and say, but at the time when you feel the wind at your back and you're within 100 yards, it's like, well, shit, there we go. But you just never know. And like you say, we backed out, we waited, and then we went in and tried to call a little bit, and it, nothing happened of it. But that's hunting.
And it was interesting because he was there. We knew he was there.
Yeah.
We all were like, where do you think he is? And I was in there before, and I'm like, if I were to guess, he's on this ridge. I think it is a north-facing slope.
It is, yep.
A north-facing slope, and it is torn up. I mean, there's elk beds in there. And I was like, I know that's where he was. I've been in there. This is how we can get into it. And we did it, and we played it. The section of woods he was in was very huntable. It was a little thick at the top end, but it was huntable. And the situations weren't right. We still had a couple days. Maybe that played into it. And we said, we'll back out, we'll swing around, then we'll go sit where he went in the morning. Where he went into that timber, we went and sat instead of where he should have came out. Where he should have came out, the easiest route out to the meadow, if we sat that, he did that. And it was funny.
It was near where he bedded.
Yep, it was right where he bedded. He came right out. And looking at back, we didn't need to back out. Nope. We could have spent the whole rest of the day there. Swung a guy down at the bottom when the thermals were right, and you could have had a shot at it. Where he had to come out from where he was bow range. Now you know that, so it's like, shoot, we could have used the topography, we could have used the wind, we could have swung around, and we could have hunted him.
But now to play devil's advocate of that, Michael, had we done that, and if he would have blown out, we'd have wasted a whole night on a bull that wasn't even there. So it's so hard to know.
Yep.
I think we made the safe move there with backing out and waiting. Maybe next time we'll just try to keep pushing in and see what happens,
Yeah.
That specific hunt there, I was a shooter. Mason and I rock, paper, scissors it. I won. I was a
Which
shooter.
was an adrenaline rush, by the way, might I add.
Holy smokes. Yeah,
you guys,
that was like 9 rounds.
You gave a hardcore arm pump after you.
Yeah, you were jacked up.
Because you guys hit a tie almost 2 or 3 different times before you came out with the win.
Yep. And Mason was bummed. Mason did a dang it. I was like, yes, because we're doing this rock, paper, scissors within 200 yards of the bull.
200 yards of the bull.
Yeah.
Who's shooting?
Yeah, who's shooting?
Yeah.
And so I'm the shooter, and all this to say, our group effort a decision was made not to push in, and I, being the shooter, was like, that's right, yeah. There's no reason to blow this out if we don't, let's back out. And I could have been like, no, hell with this. I'm going to go in there. If I wanted to really hunt the bull that we knew was there and been like, Mason, I'm sorry, tomorrow morning we have no chance at this bull because he's gone. No, we made a group decision. Best thing here to do is get out. We'll set here. We'll play it like this. I was like, yeah, that's great. That's a great idea. And we backed out. We slipped out. And we were 1 drainage off. We sat up, I'm going to say drainage 1 and 2, and he came out 3. We were hunting him in drainage 3. And the night before, he went in 1, and the night after, he went in number 2, in the drainage number 2. So it's like, how did he get to where he was? Why didn't he come out there? It's one of those. But, group effort, we all said this is what's best, and I felt at the time that was the best decision we could make.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I agree.
From my standpoint, what I saw is some things that we did good and some things I think we could, maybe have changed differently, maybe not, I don't know. But one thing was my idea of elk hunting, and the way I looked at it before was I wanted to bugle in a big, bull, bugling back at me, spitting in my face, rutting, pissing all over his legs, just the whole story that everybody wants from a September rut hunt. And it was said, actually, it was when I interviewed John Barklow on the podcast. He said something about, he goes, the best elk hunters, or a lot of the really successful elk hunters, hunt elk with what they're doing at the time. And he said, if it's super hot and they're not bugling, that may be sitting water holes, even if you don't want to do that. And for me, it took a little bit to kind of learn that. And I think we did a good job at that this time. And it was a learning curve for myself of not just running around bugling on ridges. And, that does work for a lot of people, but they're covering a lot of spot. We kind of had a unique situation where we had this part of the basin kind of to ourselves, and it wasn't getting pressure from
during the weekdays,
but even
on the weekends, man, there was people coming through, but it wasn't enough to drive the area out.
No, and they weren't going into these prime spots because they're freaking tough to get into. And we had these little holes, and there was 5, 6, 7 bulls in there. Not just in there at one time, but they come through, and we're like, we didn't want to blow it out, so we took a little bit of a cautious route. But I think we were aggressive when we needed to be, and I think that's what gave us those opportunities that potentially we could have been 4 for 4. I think that's a very successful thing, and I think it's something to take note of is hunting elk and what they're doing, like paying attention to it and adapting. Same thing it is with whitetails. If you're going on a rut hunt in Kansas and it just so happens they're not rutting, then sitting these rut funnels isn't going to work. You got to figure out what they're doing right now, move, adapt, set up, kill. And yeah, I wish it was that easy. But anyways, I think that was one thing we did really well. One thing that I think for myself personally I could improve on is the confidence in some of these setups. Like when we would have those bulls in the bed, I'd get there and be like, I don't know what the hell to do. In reality, I did have some good ideas of what to do. I had the knowledge. I just wasn't confident in whether it's my calling or whatever it might be to make that happen. And I think that's something I can definitely improve on and go from there. I mean, what do you guys think?
I can always say calling can be better. I mean, I felt like I practiced a ton of bugling. I mean, I bugled every day to work, on the way home from work. I sat in traffic. My girlfriend was probably freaking sick and tired of me ripping bugles through the tube in the car with the windows up. I know she was tired of it. I mean, my ears would ring some days. And I practiced bugling all the time. Very little cow calling. I just wasn't. I came out here and I wasn't confident in my cow calling. I'm like, son of a gun. I'm in his bed. I'm on him. I probably should just give a soft cow call right now. And I just wasn't confident in it.
Yeah.
I'd be like, well, What am I going to do, rip a bugle? I don't know. Just I wish I could have taken the time to put a little more effort in my cow calling.
Yep. And I'm gonna speak for Mason on two things he needs to improve on.
You sound excited about this.
Getting the Onyx Hunt app on his phone.
That's one, yeah.
Mason came out here with after the podcast, everything I talk about with it, no way mapping service.
No GPS.
Or
he said to his defense, he had a GPS ready to rip, and he forgot it.
Yep. No Onyx, no GPS.
Yeah. So,
in a place he never been.
Yeah. He's like, oh, it should be easy to
let's hike up
navigate.
here and see what happens.
Yeah, no, but and then yeah, I guess that's the only thing with Mason. I
will stick up for him though. John said, "Hey, go up on this ridge. There's a trail camera up here. I'd give you the waypoint, but you don't have it." And Mason came home with the trail camera.
Yeah.
So he does have good wood knowledge and,
good wood
navigational.
Yeah.
But Onyx is very helpful. If he was successful, he would have had to walk the whole way back to camp to come get us, to walk the whole way up in to go get the elk, because he didn't have an inReach. We have no cell service here. An inReach would save you miles in these woods. And where he was hunting, I would not want to walk down just to say, "Hey guys, I got a bull." Like,
yeah.
You're talking
back.
hours.
That'd probably be a 3-hour ordeal. Hour and a half down, hour and a half back up, give or take.
Just to get it.
Yeah, 2
just
hours
to get
up.
everyone up there.
Yeah, 2 hours up for sure.
And that's an inReach is a necessity, but it definitely would have been a helpful tool. You and I used it. That's how when I got my bull down, I texted you, and you had everybody rounded up and up there. And so that Garmin inReach was a good tool. So
if you didn't have the inReach and I didn't have the inReach, you wouldn't even been able to get us, because Mason and I were in the woods hunting.
Yeah.
That would have been a thing, and it was hot that day.
Yeah,
you
and Justin would have been humping that thing off the hill, and that is not an easy hike out.
No.
Granted, there is a trail there that you can sneak down in on, but getting to that trail is steep country.
Going through rock bluffs and cliffs and everything.
And we got our buddy John, like day 2 and 0 him. He was up there in a heartbeat, helped Bo finish butchering it, helped Bo quarter it out. We got up there, we helped pack out. Everything was good, done, easy. That inReach paid for itself on that very specific moment for me. And that's a $300 investment. And it paid for itself that moment right there. So I like, Mason, with just picking on him because we did it a lot with the Onyx. But any mapping service is a must. You really need to come to out here, a guy, Onyx, just be safe with it. Onyx is great. I feel like you can use it in these countries perfectly. But even a cheap GPS in your hand that just points north, south, east, west is needed.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's definitely a learning experience there. And Mason will never say it because he's stubborn and he will figure it out. Don't get me wrong. Mason will figure it out. I'll never doubt him 1 second. He said he found that trail camera in 2 minutes. It could have took him 6 hours. We don't know.
But he did it in spite of us. Yep.
He did it in spite of us. And he would have not came out until the next morning until he found that thing.
Yep.
But so anyways, one other thing I wanted to cover here is let's start, Justin, maybe you have something to add, maybe you don't, but from your experience, did you see anything from a gear standpoint that you're like, man, I'm glad I had this, or like that we had, and then something that maybe you'd like to improve?
I'll start with plan for the worst. My sleeping bag was like fine line the whole trip.
What degree is it?
I have a 30.
Okay, yeah, that's tight.
Yeah, and I guess I didn't know any better. I was like, 30 degrees, I'll dress warm when I land there. I'll be good down to whatever. And most of the nights I was fine, but there was 2 or 3 nights where I was wearing everything I had, and I wasn't cold, but I wasn't warm by any means. So I think it's just kind of.
And you're a Minnesota boy, so that's
I have that little bit of pride. I'm like, I'm from Minnesota. I don't need a 0 degree bag for a September hunt, but I think just plan for the worst. Assume that you're going to get snow. Assume it's going to get cold, and plan for it, because it would be better to have too much than too little, if that makes sense in a way.
Yeah.
To an extent,
especially when you're truck camping like this.
Exactly. Here, because I could just throw it in my car and be done. But other than that, I think our water filtration system was pretty solid. Mm-hmm. Granted, we had a creek right here to fill up out of, but I thought that was pretty slick how every night we came back to camp and there was, how big is that bag? 3 liters?
Yeah, so the dirty bags is a platypus like inline gravity fed filtration system. I had a 3 liter dirty bag, and Mason had an MSR 6 liter clean bag that we'd have filled. So we weren't scrambling around trying to find water. Each of us just, whenever we saw the bag empty, the dirty bag, we go fill it up and have it ready to start loading up water. Yeah, that's a good ad.
Yeah, I mean, it's different for me because when I come on a trip like this, I have my clothing, my tent, my sleep system, and my camera gear. I don't have the hunting gear because that's what you guys have. So, I could go all day about camera gear and stuff that I wish I had and that I'm happy I have, but I don't think people care about that too much. So I'll turn it over to Michael and you can talk more about hunting stuff.
Anything that you noticed, because, you're in the elements as much as we are. Do you have a piece? I mean, I don't know if Bo's heading this direction, but anything like clothing wise that you're like, thank goodness I had this, or think, man, next year I'm going to do a hunt like this. I'm going to have this, or boots, or gloves, or anything.
Yeah. I'll start with boots. I think boots are like one of the big ones to have. If you have a shitty little pair of boots that's getting you wet every day, and they're not drying out, and I mean, when I was in New Mexico before this hunting elk, I wore a pair of cotton socks one day. I didn't even think about it. Like, it was just, I had so much going on, and I have blisters on my feet still from that one screw up. And that's with a good pair of boots. I can't imagine trying to run cotton socks and a bad pair of boots for a week out here, especially if you're in a situation where you don't have a fire or it's raining all day and it's cold all night. I mean, that would be absolutely miserable. So I think a solid pair. And I'm not going to be a brand guy and try to tell you to buy this or that brand. Just buy what you can afford and make it a good pair of boots because it's going to be so worth it, having that. And besides that, I pretty much live in my Kelvin light vest. Mm-hmm. I wear it. I mean, you guys have seen me. I don't think I've taken it off in the last 2 weeks. I love the fact that when we hike, what you guys can't see is every time we go in to hunt, we're hiking uphill, right? And then we get to a spot, and depending on the hunt, we might sit down and wait for a bugle, wait to glass. So you might hike 3 miles and sweat your ass off, and then you might have to sit and wait for 3 hours. So whatever system you're running, you got to have layers, man, and you got to actually be active with it. It's so easy to be like, oh, I'll be good enough to hike up there. And you get up there and you're sweating, and then you don't have anything else to put on, and you're wet. You have to really be proactive, and if it takes you the extra minute to stop and you get behind people just to rip a layer off or do something like that, I think that's crucial. Now, I lived and breathed by that, and I think, and I see you guys doing it too. I think we all did pretty good with that this trip.
Yeah, and so what you're talking about is a sick Kelvin light vest, and it's extremely packable, lightweight, synthetic, insulation layer, and you're wearing it currently, and you've worn it.
Maybe Honey had it on for sure.
Yeah, well, at some point.
It's so, I mean, when you think about it, when you get cold, right, it's your core that's cold. It's not your elbows or your forearms. It's your core. So why not bring a layer that covers that again? That's the way I always look at it. I won't leave camp without it because, like you said, it weighs nothing. So even when we're hiking in the afternoon and it's hot, I'm not going to have it on because I'll die, But then you don't even realize it's in your pack. You get up there, you start glassing, you throw it on, and that'll cover you for like 3 hours of sitting if you need, before it gets too cold, before you need another layer. But
so kind of on that, I wasn't gonna go that route, but just real quick, mule deer hunting, whitetail hunting, I lived and died in my merino wool. Super warm. I woke up out of my tent. I walked to my glassing knob. We glassed in the mornings for mule deer specifically. You'd be bundled up, puffies, your merinos, good pants to sit in because you're going to be doing a lot of sitting, glassing, tree stand, same thing. You hike in, you sit in your stand all day. So merinos were like what you needed for a base layer. A good puffy is what you need for glassing. And this hunt was so much different for me because I busted my ass to get in there, to sit for a little bit, to get cold, to hear a bugle, to run again, to sit for a little bit. I 100%, if I ever come back and do another hunt of this nature, it's solely going to be on, I'm probably going to phase out my merino base layers and put in more a synthetic base layer. I'm going to sweat. I just, you're going to sweat. And you sit down for that little bit. And if you have the chance to get anything just wind blown dry off, you're so much farther ahead of the game. So that, if I ever do a hunt like this again, I'm 100% going to have synthetic base layers. I know merino with the smell and the antimicrobial, cool. You're going to stink like shit after 12 days. I don't care who you are or where you are. I think being dry is way more important than your smell after 12 or 13 days.
Yeah, and the synthetic definitely dries a lot quicker. And that was I tested out both as you did. I wore my Sika, the Core lightweight synthetic T-shirt underneath, my clothing there, and then there was days I wore just my regular merino base layer, and the merino is so nice on them cold mornings. Don't get me wrong, that warmth to weight ratio is amazing and it's awesome. You cannot replace that. But it did take a lot longer to dry, and if you got up there and you're sitting for a little bit, all of a sudden your back's wet from your pack fitting on there and everything. Starts getting cool drafts, all this stuff. And these are, some little things, but they can be, somewhat of a comfort level that can make or break your mind in a way and your mental.
At night.
Yeah.
You hike down. Every night you hike down. Regardless of the temperature, you're going to sweat in your back. Your pack's going to sweat. You're going to sweat at some point on your hike out. You're packing out. You're hiking out. And then a lot of people, including myself, when you're on a hunt like this, you almost always sleep in a majority of your clothes. Some sort of your base layer is something that you sleep in. Now, truck camping is a little different because you can pack different. But when you're high country mule deer and living out of your backpack, you sleep in your layers that you're wearing. So if you have wet merinos and you go to bed, I don't care what sleeping bag you have, you're going to be cold. So for like that instance, the base layers to me is probably one thing I'll probably change a little bit. And I do have to say my favorite piece of gear, cheap piece. The whole time I was telling Bo, man, I'd adjust this, I'd change this, I like this idea on this, and just bouncing ideas back and forth off him with some things I'd like to see in different pieces of gear. But the one piece of gear I would never go on a backcountry hunt again without is my bow sling. That bow sling is worth its weight in gold.
The jacked gear sling-a-ling.
Jack gear sling-a-ling. Now, I've had another one where you put your whole string and cam system in it, and that's not quick. It's not easy to take on and off. I've ran on my backpack before in a case, not case, but it is so nice to have just over your sling on a real quick release clip on your shoulder, hands free, trekking poles, whatever you're doing, climbing. If your hands, you need your hands for whatever it is, or you're freezing cold and your hands in your pocket. A 20-degree morning with a bow in your hand, your hand's frozen. That's just that's all there is to it. And I know Mason many times like, man, how much do you like that sling? I was like, I love it right now. I don't know how much it costs, and I don't even care what it costs. I would never go back without that sling.
Yeah, I will say with all my filming I do a lot of archery hunts. I've never seen guys run that, and I saw on yours the first day. I thought, that's kind of interesting. And then I think we talked a little bit about it on one of the first days, and I saw you hiking around with it always like that. And like you said, it's so quick. If you see something, it's just a matter of
it's on your shoulder.
Shrugging your shoulder, and it's right in your hand.
It's no different than a sling and a rifle.
Yeah,
There's no different than a sling and a rifle. You see deer, you pull the gun off your shoulder and you shoot. Now, bow, obviously, it's a little bit different, but it's right there. It's on your shoulder. Yep. It's attached to your pack. You're hiking hands-free. You see a deer, you just reach up, left to end. Well, I'm always on my left side. I just pop it off, grab my sling, grab my bow, and I'm ready to roll. I mean,
and the sling has a magnet in it, which I talked on a podcast, I don't know, probably 10 episodes ago with Jeff Ellis, who's the guy who founded and created this sling. He added a magnet in it. So when you pull it off, it's good to practice with it this way. You practice it, you could take it off one-handed, sling it around, and it magnets off, out of the way, out of your sight, out of the way of your quiver, everything.
Off your hand.
You're ready to go load an arrow just as quick as if you had it in your hand. And it keeps your hands free. It's so much easier for hiking. That was going to be one of my main gear things, too. That, man, did that help out.
You know where else it helps? And I know he speaks on it, but people that use these a lot don't, I think, get the full use out of it. Putting it around your neck with the bow in front of you. Putting your elbows, I'm doing it with my hands, but you put your elbows where the limbs and the riser meet, and you use that as a steady base, pushing down on your bow on the back of your neck, locking in your binos. And when you're cruising through the woods and you see something at a good ways off, like you can in most areas, instead of being out of breath, huffing and puffing, trying to get your binoculars steady on it, I just swing my bow right around my neck, and I put my binoculars to my eyes, and I'm locked in. You're steady, you're glassing, and you're like, okay, yeah, that's the bull we're after. Okay, keep skirting around it. Oh, it came out over here. And that right there was that is worth its weight there. I mean, I know for sure when you're hiking a terrible hike and you look up and you're trying to get this animal in your binoculars and you're like, man, is this a 5x5? Is this a raghorn? Is it 6x6? And you're wobbling all over. Being super steady, back to getting after it. If it's $50, I'm not sure it's worth it. I don't know. It's less than 100.
Yeah, it's somewhere around $50. The whole system, if you add the actual wrist sling and stuff to it, I believe is $75.
Yeah, I don't run a wrist sling. I just don't.
Yeah.
So that was a cost savings on my end. But less than $100 for a piece of gear that I used every single day, every hunt. There's never a point. That sling was used more than. I mean, it had to be more than anything else I used. Like, I didn't use my binoculars that much. I didn't use my boots, obviously, but like that was constantly in use, attached to my bow, attached to my pack. So
yeah. Is there anything else you can think of that jumps out at you that you would change or that you liked?
Changing, I love my boots. My boots are nice. I've never gotten a blister, knock on wood. My boots are great. I love the socks I run. Those, I think everybody uses Darn Tough at least once or twice in their time. They're great. I have a couple different layers of gear here that I wear, tops and bottoms, alternate my puffy in and out when needed. I just got a new pair of pants with knee pads. Bo, what are they?
They're the Sitka Gear Apex pants.
With knee pads and those pants, quiet is a big thing.
Yep. They're a merino synthetic mix.
Yep. Quiet is a big thing. And the knee pads are nice. I was putting that stock on that Mueller in sagebrush, which anybody that walks in sagebrush knows it is not a quiet bush to be walking through. And then the last, I don't know how far I'm, hands and knees crawling through rock. I'm like, wow, this is actually a really nice pair of pants to be wearing right now. And then a new puffy that I got. I want to call it a puffy short sleeve.
It's the Kelvin Active hoodie.
That
Bo's got you.
I love. So I told Bo, I was like, this is what I want. He's like, oh, this is a good jacket for you. I was like, I want a hood. And he's like, oh, then you want this. And I was like, I don't know about short sleeve. He's like, listen, I'm not talking you into buying it, but you will not realize the difference short sleeve versus long sleeve, except my biggest thing is I hate bulk on my arms when I'm shooting my bow.
On your forearms.
On my forearm. For some reason, maybe it's the way I hold my bow, it's the way I shoot. Even a little bulky jacket, every once in a while I can hear a slight tick of my string or my arrow or whatever it is hitting my sleeve, and that just makes me cringe. I hate that. So having less bulk on my arms, I'll do that every day of the week.
Yeah, and you can hike in it too, which is pretty cool.
I did that a lot. Yeah, a lot of hiking in it.
And add some insulation. You named quite a few things there that I thought was cool. And with those, the Apex pants there, from Sitka that you were using, like those knee pads. So when I made my shot, as you guys will see in the film, I was on my knees on a rock slide on the side of it. That would have been freaking painful to shoot from that without knee pads.
Did I ruin all your gear list?
You went through quite a few of them. That's good. We had similar ones that were good.
Yeah, well, I apologize for that, but I'm glad to hear that you have the same ideas because.
No, and then the Kelvin Active hoodie was another one I loved. The Kelvin Active jacket's my favorite piece of gear Sitka ever made. That Kelvin Active hoodie might have replaced it. Just from the, I love hoods. I'm a hood guy. I
think it's worth mentioning, man. The one day I went out, I didn't wear my hood on my base layer.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit. And I could just feel a breeze coming in. It just wasn't the same. I think even if you
have long hair like Bo and I.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I missed the memo.
No breeze on my neck.
no neck warmers.
Yeah. But seriously, I mean, when you look, it's just this thin little paper thin layer, but it's enough just to cut the wind, and you'd be surprised how warm it keeps you.
Yeah. I mean, when I shot my bull, I had which is a mid layer, but it's almost the weight of a base layer. I had the Apex hoodie on. I had my hood up when I shot. It was completely out of the way of the shot. Didn't interfere with the shot whatsoever. So definitely, like in elk hunting and this stuff, where you're active, then you're still. You're active, then you're still. A layering system of any kind is very important, and keeping caught and throw it out the window. I've talked about that a million times, but that was a big thing for me. That bow sling was the other just giant win. That was an improvement from other years. One piece of gear. So I've never done a whole lot of glassing, but having spotters. Oh man, that's been legit. I mean, I had that new little Maven S2 spotter, weighs 32 ounces. It's like freaking nothing. Weighs the same as my binos. Throwing that in the pack with the tripod that I normally already have, that I was either running my binos off or my camera, and being able to use that and cover country instead of putting those miles on your legs was awesome.
It was huge.
That
we use
was
those
huge.
spotters every day.
Yeah, we did.
I mean, literally.
Every single day.
Michael,
my
you have
spotter-
the S1 spotter by Maven, the bigger one.
That spotter, I tell you right now, you're not going to have the lightest spotter in the game. You're not going to have the S2. You're not going to have. I will say what you do have. They'd be like, oh, there's an elk. I'd hop on that, crank it all the power all the way up, and I'm like, oh, hey, check this out. And we all look through and we're like, okay, yeah, that's Don Bolio. Just for an example, and having the ability to be, I can't wait to use it on mule deer, because that's the difference in a stock or not. Is that a 4x4? Is that a 3x4? Is it, what you're looking for? A good spotter's life, that hunt there. So getting to use them out here is so cool. I really enjoyed it. You spend good money on good gear and you get to use it. And it's nice.
Yeah, that was definitely
I like
big,
that one. I didn't think of that.
That was definitely a big thing, and not really a specific gear choice, but for me this year I felt really a lot more organized in knowing the ins and outs of my pack, where I had things organized. And even coming down to the truck, I mean, I added that deck system in the back of my truck and being able to organize all my camping stuff. We came back at night, I could pull a drawer out, grab my cooking stuff, go, put it all back together. We stayed pretty dang organized for spending 12 days out here. Yeah, we always, get on each other, leaving stuff out here and there. But for the most part, everything was organized, and having that together is something that I think is really big.
When you have 4 and 5 guys going to the back of a truck, you know how much of a shit show that gets in a quick hurry.
Yeah.
Oh, one day.
And I can't tell you, I personally would misplace things. That's just because how I am. But it's like, oh, okay, I know everything I need for cooking's in this drawer. Everything I need for here's in this drawer. And everyone kept it that way because it's so easy to keep it that way.
Yep.
With that deck system like that, with our table, the way we ever set up, our canopy, just our camp setup has been organized and it's been nice.
Yeah, and another thing that I used, this was the first time using something like this, but I was messing around with the new iron will knife that we had, and not even the knife was awesome. It's cool. It's a fixed blade, all this stuff, but the little sharpener, 1/2 ounce. This thing weighed, and all of us used it. Not even on the iron will stuff. Michael, you used it on your knife, and it wasn't even the right angle for it.
It wasn't the right angle. It wasn't the right type of steel, and I'm like, listen. I know it'll sharpen this enough to get done what I need to get done. And I was on a stainless blade, a replaceable blade. I drug it through a couple times. I knocked the burrs down, and I got back to work.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just saved myself 2 blades just having that sharpener. I could have brought other sharpeners very easily, and I'm not saying I couldn't have, but it's the size of a matchbox.
Yeah.
Literally.
Smaller. And I had it in my kill kit. I'm up there cutting that elk. That elk hide is not easy to cut through. Halfway through it, maybe the knife's getting a little bit dull. I ran it through 4 times through the sharpener. Took not even 30 seconds. I'm back to cutting like butter. And it was great for us to be able to do that and, be able to I don't know, just be efficient with it. One thing that we didn't get to use a whole lot, but something that I'm still looking for the perfect solution to, and I don't know if there is, the water filtration at camp was great with that platypus system. I did not like that for backcountry hunts. It works a lot better for clean streams, and when I say clean, that doesn't mean the cow shit that we were filtering out of. I mean like muddy stuff like that. I have a Sterapen that I've been using, and I used that once on the trip, and tried the Aquamira drops, but something that's lightweight, that's being able to filter water efficiently, get out the particulates. I don't know if there's a good option for that, but that's something I'm still looking to improve on.
I know Justin and I have the same one.
Yeah, we do.
Trail shot?
Trail shot. Yeah,
the trail shot?
By MSR?
Yep.
What's that?
By MSR?
Yeah,
Yep.
It's not big. I filtered 2 times this trip out of Classy Wallows.
Yep, I did once.
Yeah.
Classy Wallows.
You're in muddy water, and I had no flow difference. Now, I'm not saying I ran it through a 16-day hunt because I didn't have to. I used it in PA multiple times, and PA streams are very clean. in comparison to what the Classy Wallow was. But normally, even out of my old system that I had, those Sawyer squeeze bags, 2 times out of that wallow and you're back flushing.
Yep.
And I love that thing. Just hand pump a liter and get going. Get down to the, I liked it. It was small. I know there's a failure point to them, they all have. Not to say that's the end-all, be-all at all, but that won't leave my pack. I know that for sure.
Yeah, I'd feel very confident running that as my primary water solution and then having something as a backup in case I forget and leave it out and it freezes one night and cracks or whatever. But I could see myself running that as my primary for a trip like this.
A solo hunter, that's a good primary.
I mean, it weighs nothing. You don't even realize it's in your pack, and you get it out, and you can fill up your bladder in, a minute or two, and you're back on your way,
Yeah, now 6 guys, I would never recommend trail shot.
Yeah, no, it's a personal
not a good
thing.
camp thing. It's a good personal.
It's a personal
filtration
item.
system. Yep.
And honestly, camp, the way to do it is gravity. You don't want to pump. Pumping, everybody dreads going to wherever you're getting water and pumping. I guarantee more backcountry hunters hate getting water more than anything else. I've never heard of I can't wait to go freaking get water tonight. Like,
especially when it's cold and you're
downhill. It's always terribly downhill.
Yeah,
and it's always
especially here.
Yeah, it's here. Good thing it's downhill, so I can see it.
Yeah,
but now I think that gravity is the way to go here.
Yeah.
In this example, I did want to also mention on that sling, packing meat, trekking poles, heavy load, and your bow on your shoulder. How much nicer can that get?
No, you're exactly right.
You're not carrying your bow. You're packing meat. You're usually in not a good footing. Your last thing you want to be worrying about is where your bow is. And you can't put it on your pack at that time.
Yep.
It doesn't go on your pack usually because your pack's blowed out with 100-pound of meat in a head. Where do you put your bow?
Yep.
If nobody's there, you're leaving it there because we know friends that had to leave their bows up at, on the top of a mountain because they didn't have a place to take it or put it. You throw that over your shoulder, you're always going to have a $1,500 investment. Of course I want that with me. Regardless how much it is, it's worth it.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And that was, so the one other aspect I'm going to ask you guys, I'll give my input first and then kind of go over to you guys. But as far as packing out meat and everything, how, as far as like your packs and how they worked, I was really impressed by how my pack carried the Mountain Hauler 4000, how it carried meat. I loved the organization of it, but I had never got to pack out something with that much weight. And we figured I probably had a little over 100 pounds.
Right around 100 pounds if I were to put a guess on it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And it was probably a little over 3 miles. Actually, it was like 3.2 miles is what it was from my truck to that.
Bill's not bragging saying he had 100 pounds on his back. This isn't a competition.
No. This is
easily. You weren't packed. You weren't overstuffed.
Yeah, I took a lot of my gear out and gave it to you.
Yeah,
and then had a hind quarter plus the head, hide, everything else on my pack when coming out. Yeah, you're exactly right. I'm not trying to say I'm a freaking badass carrying it out. This was just carrying weight efficiently. But one thing that we learned about that was make sure you have that weight balance right. First off, I put the head on in the wrong portion. And that killed me.
And then it slid off.
Because it was on the back of me. It felt like I was going to fall over backwards. And once I got it set up on top and had the weight distributed right, close to my back, all the heaviest stuff up against there, which obviously is the hind quarter and then the head, and was able to do that. I was good coming off the mountain, and I thought that was awesome. And so what about you, Justin?
I roll with the Stone Glacier.
Yep.
It's a 3300. I just bought it the beginning of this elk season. The pack I was running last year just wasn't, it was a camera pack, and that was great, but it's not a pack-out pack, if that makes sense, I knew on this hunt, the way we'd be hunting, that I would probably have to be carrying meat, which is great. So I decided to get that Stone Glacier. This was the first run that I've, this past New Mexico hunt and this hunt that I've really used it. And so far I've taken out 1 load on this one. We all did it in one, and then I did 3 on the last one. So I've done 4 loads, and I have absolutely no complaints. I mean, I've done 2 hindquarters and I think I took a front with yours, Bo.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just been perfect. I mean, I have no complaints at all about it. It handles well. It loads well. It sits on my hips well. My shoulders weren't sore at all.
Yeah.
So I was nothing bad to say about it at all.
Good. What about you, Michael?
Yeah, so I run a mystery ranch. This trip I didn't have an elk on my back. We had enough guys that everyone kind of took what they were, and I had my pack loaded up, and Bo's like...
But you had a lot of stuff, though, with gear. You took everybody's gear.
Yeah, I took everybody's gear, which is fine with me, and I was perfectly fine with not... I'm not saying, like, I was so thankful to give up my hind quarter. I was 100% ready to take the hind quarter out, and Bo's like, listen, I've never packed meat in this. This is something I want to do. This is something that I feel like I should do. It's my first bull. He's heard all of our horror stories of packing out elk. And Bo's like, I'm not going to take the easy route and just take the head and gear. So I loaded up with gear. Now, my pack was not heavy, but my pack is big. I don't know how many cubic inch it is.
It's 4,500, I believe.
It's probably between 4 and 5, I
Yeah,
imagine.
so 4,500. I can stuff that thing to the brim. You adjust it right for your body, and that pack is a heavier duty pack. It's heavier than most packs out there. I have had over 100 pounds on it multiple times here now, just messing around with it. And I've never had a creek or a drone where I'm like, oh boy, is this pack going to explode. That pack, I love it. I would only maybe ever change it if just to try something. I would never have to get anything just the way it sits now. I have seen some packs not do so well, and I'm so glad that all three of ours right here performed very well.
Yeah.
I have seen packs not hold up. Even taking out packing out a whitetail, that pack has never been a problem. Two hind quarters, 2 front shoulders and meat shoved in one pack. That's a cluster. You got legs sticking out here and there, and it's not. But that pack, I love it. I just like how it rides. It sits well. But if you got to spend money, boots and packs are not a bad place to do it.
Yep.
Especially when you're hiking far like this, because the two things that are going to get sore if you skimp on that are your feet and your shoulders, and that's miserable. Mm-hmm. And I think it's worth mentioning too. Thankfully, it didn't happen to us, and hopefully never will. But if your pack fails on a pack out, especially if you're not with a group of 4 or 5 people, I mean, you could be in for some big trouble there. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do if you're halfway back and your strap just fails and you can't load meat anymore? Now you have a quarter with all your gear sitting here, the rest of the elk there, and the rest of your stuff down here. I mean,
you're cluster.
Yeah, it'd be a thing. So
yeah,
I think it's just worth mentioning.
Very good point.
Like Michael just said, those are things not worth skimping money on. Even if you have to wait till next season to buy the one you want, the one you need, just get something good that you're going to be happy with and love it.
Yep.
I do want to say this, and I know everyone here probably listening probably can agree here. You don't have to go out and spend top dollar on every piece you have.
No.
You don't have to go out and be buying sticky gear. You don't have to be out buying KUIU, First Light, Kafaru packs. I'm not saying these names because they're not great and they are. You don't have to spend the money on that. We have a friend that packed a bull out with a fanny pack strapped on with a bungee cord because that's what he had and he got it done. Is that the most efficient way? No. Did it get it done? Yes. Did he want to go elk hunting and did he kill a bull? I mean, he did. And he got done what he needed to. So I'm not saying, but if you're planning on doing this for years to come and you want to have an enjoyable first experience, if you don't have a good first experience, you will never have a second experience. Boots in a pack will make your life nice. I mean,
yep.
Don't
good
spend
base,
money you don't have.
And good base layers too.
Yeah,
and a good bow and sling and everything.
Being cold and wet, right out. Being cold and wet, you could just say, I'm sitting in my tent all day. Now, is that really hunting? No, but you could.
There's ways around it.
Yeah.
No, I get what you're saying.
But, those are good options there. A couple of packs we mentioned, and there's plenty of them out there.
Yeah. So we're gonna drive home tomorrow. Justin's leaving at first light. We're getting up about first light and going in, grabbing a shower in town at the local laundromat, and then heading out. We're gonna stop in Wyoming and see my brother who's on antelope hunt there. Spend a night with him. It's a little bit of a get a first leg of the trip, not try to do it in one time. We drove out here 31 hours straight after working 9-10 hours, and Michael had an extra 5-hour drive just to meet us.
Oh yeah, but now our 31 I think ended up being 33.
Yeah, plus your 5 hours, 38 hours straight driving. Even when you have 3 people switching off, you don't get good sleep in a vehicle. It's rough. So we're gonna try to take it a little bit slower this time and get back and be ready because we all have to work on Monday. Woo. Justin, his work is going to be filming a whitetail hunt now. He's switching gears now.
Yep, I'm going from the Western style now for up until January. It'll be pretty much all whitetails. I have to go. Actually, it's kind of funny. These guys have a 30-hour drive. Mine's somewhat similar. I have to go to Ohio. I'm still on the road for another 2 weeks here. I got a hunt in Ohio to film and a hunt in Missouri to film. And then I get to go back home and sleep in my own bed for a few nights. And I'm not wishing time away, but man, am I looking forward to that.
Yeah. How many days have you been on the road?
It'll be total when I get home 56.
Man.
Yeah,
Hey.
I'm gonna ride the whole thing out with not a single hotel room.
Heck yeah.
So
That's awesome.
yeah. So
Cool.
I do know I can't wait for pizza.
Oh, yeah.
I want some food, a nice shower.
We've done decent with our food on the trip. I felt like it was pretty dialed in for the trip. I felt good. I felt, I didn't put as many miles on as I had in the past. And I think that's some more brains than just trying to do grip. But, yeah, on the way home, we're going to eat like shit. And we're going to eat as much greasy stuff as possible because that's just what we're in the mood to do. And we'll recover next week.
Yeah, I do got to take it easy a little bit, though, because I got to turn around, come back to Colorado, and I can't be too banged up.
Yep. Yeah.
I'll definitely hit it hard.
It was
this
funny
weekend.
today. We kind of had that like last afternoon talk. And so I don't know who even brought up food, man, but all of a sudden, next thing you know, we're all like bonding over toaster strudels. How we heat up the frosting for it and everything because we're all just so ready for real.
That was a
tidbits.
tip I learned. I've never done that.
That's a hot tip.
It kind of pisses me off. I never did that before.
Hey.
Go ahead and tell it, Michael.
Oh, the toaster strudel. So if you're going to have toaster strudel,
If there's one takeaway, something you should write notes down on, this is it.
Yeah, listen up. Here we go.
So I know people do it. I know this is a thing because I did not come up with this. But you're already eating toaster strudel in your toaster. And Justin's like, you know what? I warm mine up in microwave. And Bo's like, I just eat it cold because he's weird.
That's
Well,
a rookie
not
mistake.
the toaster strudel. We're talking about the frosting.
The frosting,
It's
yeah.
Still a rookie mistake. You
Yeah,
gotta heat
so
the frosting.
cold frosting. That's mind blowing. Justin goes, he's like, I'm an 8-second guy in a microwave. Open it up a little bit, giving all these tips. I'm like, I put it on the toaster. I flip it halfway. I'm using the toaster already. It's hot. Warm up my toaster strudel. I guess icing, and we go to town. And I still think I would like to get a hold of them and tell them offer a 2 icing pack variety at Walmart. I'd buy it. I know for sure.
Yeah, 2 packs per strudel instead of just one. That's bullshit because you spread it out. It's too thin. You put it on in the way that they make it look fancy when the little guy's sitting on there freaking squeezing it out. And then you have bare spots. And if you have bare spots, that just really pisses you off.
Yeah, you get one corner that's good. Your next corner's dry, and you're like, oh, man, what is this?
Now I got cotton mouth. Shit.
If you guys can't sense our frustrations of eating freeze-dried food for the last 2 weeks, now we're bonding over toaster strudels.
Yeah.
Yeah, bars as great as they can be, and freeze-dried meals as great as they can be, and making do with what we do have, and being semi-close to town. I know I've gotten a couple bags of pretzels brought to me. But a toaster strudel, pizza. I know we said Chipotle. There's just been some that I know we had a whole conversation on lasagna the other night.
Lasagna, around the fire. How good that was.
Trying to figure out how to dehydrate that.
Yeah.
We were working on it for a while. I don't know if we ever came to anything.
We
went down to some rabbit holes on the food. That's for dang sure.
Yep.
So, all right, guys. I think we're gonna end this here. This is the recap of the Idaho Elk Hunt, and yeah, I really have nothing else to say other than thanks, guys, for making an enjoyable trip. Thanks for the pack out. Thanks for everything. It's been fucking awesome.
Heck yeah, it's been a great trip.
All right. Peace out.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of East Meets West Hunt with your host, Bo Martonic. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit eastmeetswesthunt.com, Facebook at East Meets West Outdoors, and Instagram at East Meets West Hunt. If you enjoyed today's episode, please review and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.